So I gave you a gist yesterday. Yesterday was the 2nd of January. I was talking about emotion, how emotion is the enemy. I also reviewed a book by Daniel Goleman that says emotional intelligence. And then I talked about how you should use more of logic than you should use than emotion. Now let me be very honest with you. Getting to use logic is really not easy. It is something you basically have to build. But if there's anything you would learn to build this year that will change the rest of your life, it should be how to use more of logic. When I talk more of logic, I mean that split second you get to process things before letting them happen. For instance, I'm here right now, I can see my phone. I feel like stretching my hand right now to go through Facebook. I mean, logically, if I process that thought, I'll ask myself, what am I going through Facebook to do? Is there any important thing there? Don't I have better things to do? And then I can fall back to the work, right? But now, if I don't process it, I'll just simply hold my phone, hold it there for the next 30 minutes, after which, and I'm watching a movie. The thing is, emotion works with free will desire. And if there is anything that is weak, or there's any weakness I know everyone or most people have nowadays, is the weakness of desire. Trying to get every single thing you desire. I want to relax a bit, I want to be on TikTok, being too comfortable, right? And this whole thing works around emotion. Now, in order for you to be fully into logic, you need to first of all learn how to live a different type of life. While I was growing up, I discovered that I would have achieved a whole lot if only I had been very consistent with my life, read more, take certain courses, don't care about what people say or do, because I'm going to be honest with you, what people say or people's opinion of me was part of why I did not achieve a whole lot in my life. How they saw me, what they thought about me, how to please them. If there's anything I can actually go back in time to change, is caring about what people think. Because there was this book I was reading, I can't recall the name now. It said when people are in their 20s, they think everyone is talking about them. For instance, you're in school, if you think everybody's talking about you, now you be the best person for department, and everybody in the boys hostel knows you. At that particular point in time, your life is all about you thinking people care, people talk about you, they gossip you. Oh, they gossip me from my back. They keep saying it to my back because they can't say it in my front. You're more concerned on what people are saying about you. In your 20s, why coming up? In your 40s, those people you think are the boys hostel, those people you think, those your classmates, those people you think we're talking about, you get to notice that they did not really care. Like, they are now married, everybody has their own family to cater for. Like, you basically can't even remember any of your classmates reach out to you. Like, everybody now have their own family to live or to face. In their 60s, you get to now discover that everybody is focused with their family and their maybe extended family if they end up having grandkids. You now discover that maybe the things you were supposed to do in school, that's how you would have probably lived your life, but then you think people were talking about you, think people really cared, and so there are certain things you wanted to do that you did not do to the fullest because of people's opinion about you. So I got to understand that all those while I felt people really cared. Oh, let me live my life so I don't get the kind of description, the kind of remark. Like, I basically lived my life to suit a particular narrative. I wish I could go back. I would have changed that and I would have just been myself. So part of what I'm saying is, you get to start using more of logic when you just stop caring about what people say, because people actually affect the way you process things logically. People normally are in logic beings, so they don't even expect you to act logically. If anybody sees you acting logically, they feel your word. People feel I'm weird. When people look at me, they feel something is wrong with me because I process things, logically. And then the emotional being, Okay, so back, the first and the most important one is to make sure you don't think about what anybody says in order for you to think logically. The second one is to get a whole lot of information, right? Now, one of the things that would make you a good logic person is if you have a whole lot of knowledge on different fields, right? I tell people there is nothing as sweet as learning new things, and so there is nothing as ugly as wasting your time. I mean, why should I just sit down, watch a movie, have a useless, carefree gist when I could be learning something, right? Because I know the more I learn, the more it builds my logic, the more I have more exposure, the more I'm able to make better decisions. Why people don't even make better decisions most times is lack of exposure and lack of knowledge, right? And so, for instance, back in those days, if something happens to me, I would be emotionally attached. I would feel people don't want the best for me. Probably I have an enemy. Now, when I became well-read, became an atheist, started reading, and I understood that, my whatever I say in life is based on the decisions I make. So it helps me to live a better life, knowing my actions or inactions and what reflect me. So now, if I hadn't gotten that knowledge, I would have probably still be, to an extent, using my emotion. So in a nutshell, when you read, when you study more, and when you don't care about what people say, it is when you can start being extremely smart. And let me be honest with you, very successful people, wealthy people, people who are doing well are usually people who, live a life where it is just them. They don't care about what people say. They focus on what they ought to do, and then they try to learn. Now, learning doesn't just involve reading book, right? I'm talking about you want to be successful in anything. It's not just about reading book. It's about trying to practice, trying to improve, right? If I'm a basketballer, for instance, and I want to be a very wealthy basketballer, a successful one, the first thing I will do is to take off my emotions. What are my emotions? Oh, I want to go to the club. I want to carry some girls. I want to carry some strippers. I want to carry some booty. I want to give in to the emotion of fantasy, of greed, of sex. You understand? If I can kill that emotion, then start using logic. What is logic? Logic is the thing you build. It's being able to take time to process things. And where are those processing power or thoughts coming from? Because if your logic is fucked up, even if it takes few minutes to process things, you will still end up acting stupidly, because you'll be processing things and you'll be acting stupidly from the logic you already have, right? So you build up your logic, and when it's not time to the logic is basically like a human being inside of you, right? So like when you get high, you hear voices advising you. Now that is your logic. When you hit up the blunt, you're hearing some voices. That is your logic. Now how you feed that logic is what the logic is going to go back to. It's how the logic is going to like advise you, right? So now I'm this basketballer. I've given out of my emotions. I'm not chasing women up and down. I'm not being greedy, trying to double up my money overnight. Like, I'm just focused on trying to use logic and trying to build myself. I don't care what people say. If people come in, my other basketballer are coming in limousine, putting on gold, putting on ice, I don't give a hell about what people think. Let other basketballers, let them be ballers, let them be doing well for themselves. I just want to be me, right? And then I start using more of logic, improve myself. Every single day I'm practicing. I'm trying to see how good I can be, on the basketball field. I'm reading, I'm trying to improve my knowledge. I'm trying to check about the stock market. I'm trying to know so many things within my field, get to know that, make a lot of research, try to improve myself. I'm not somebody who gives in on every emotion, who is being distracted. I can bet you that in 30-40 years, other basketballers who were balling would obviously go bankrupt. Athletes always go bankrupt. Like, out of 100 athletes, you have 90 going bankrupt. Now that ones will be winded up, forgotten. The whole thing they thought they had fun while coming up, giving to their emotions, those things will no longer be worth it. And me, who used more of logic all those years, keeping out my emotions, getting to like focus on improving myself and improving my psychic, would have a better life. Now, at the end of the whole day, I would always tell people this, and it is what it is. Emotion is the enemy, and logic is the friend. But then logic is something you have to build, you have to study. So what I would advise you to do is very simple. If you want to improve your logic, keep watching this video series. Keep trying to communicate with other people whom you would learn from, right? Try to change your media. For a person, I no longer watch useless videos. I don't even do comedy anymore. I'm always on my own right now. If I'm not listening to an advice from a billionaire, I'm trying to read up a book, or I'm trying to improve myself within my field, which is software programming. So I would advise you as well. It's very difficult, but try to learn, which is one. And hit the blunt. I want to go hit the blunt right now. Hit this blunt. Vape it in, vape it out, vape it in, vape it out, clear my head. At that point in time, I'm not seeing anyone, because whenever I'm high, I don't get to see people around. I just get to focus on my head, on my computer. I'm trying to see what I can achieve. This is the only thing that gets, to make sense to me. Like, I get so focused, I don't see anything. That is the nice thing about alcohol. I say alcohol. The nice thing about hitting a blunt or getting high is the fact that I don't know for most people, right? But I know one thing. There is one rule that doesn't change. You get the best out of you when you're high alone. Why people misbehave is often because when they're high, they're not trying to impress people. Oh, let me don't move anyhow. Okay, because when you're high, first of all, you're in a whole different, universe inside yourself. Now you're not trying to like impress people. You're not trying to act probably maybe normal. You're trying to act like you're not in a different phase. You're trying to be normal. That is when you are not missing your step because you're already on a new dimension. You're trying to be on a different dimension. So what I usually do is whenever I'm hitting up the blunt, whenever I'm getting high, I just take a book and I read that book and I try to be, because when you're high, anything you put your head to, your imaginations are quite sharper. You're able to focus on anything you're doing at that particular point in time, which, like me, for instance, if it's coding, I'm able to focus on it, right? When you are not high, there are other things, distractions flowing. In fact, the easiest way to maintain focus is getting high. I don't know how people say when they're high they don't focus. I mean, you only do that because you probably had lots of distractions first. Now, this is my ritual. Let me show you what I do. I wake up in the morning, sometimes I exercise, and after I exercise, I try to take my bath, and then I sit up. I tell myself, what would I want to achieve? Right, and then I kind of imagine myself achieving a whole lot of things. Then I hit up a blunt and I take them and I start asking myself the next questions. How do I achieve this? I hit up that blunt, next time on my own. Now I've conditioned myself because I know that it's only one thing that can actually give me all the money I want in my life, my computer. So then I know that every single thing I want to achieve can come in from here. So now it is not me and my computer, right? At that particular point in time, I've already built my logic. I've read a lot of books. So like I said, the logic is like an inner voice of you. It's not telling me, oh, you need to do this, you need to do this. I'm having like a one-on-one meeting with myself, and then I'm focused on my computer and I'm achieving a whole lot of things. Now, if you also do this same thing, take up a blunt, focus on what you want to achieve, isolate people from you. The problem with everyone is you're letting people stay with you. There's so much voices, right? You don't listen to the voice inside of you. There's a voice inside of you. That is your logic. Once you build it up, you read often, study often, practice often, take a blunt, take a high, relax, talk to yourself often, you will discover you'll be making the best decision, because nobody actually knows you more than you. Nobody can give you the best advice more than you. But the problem is you're focused on trying to please people. So you want to ask them for their advice, and then you're not an emotional being. You want to act the way you feel. So the moment you start hitting up a blunt, you read, you build up that logic. Just like a basketballer that was busy, learning more, improving himself, using his logic while others were given to emotion, trying to please people or appear at social events. One of them ends up being extremely well after a long period in time. The other ones go bankrupt. So use your logic. I'm heading back to work. I want to light up a blunt right now so I can see clearly. Go take up a champagne. Everyone knows I pop up a champagne like every single day. Pop it up, get focused, and let's write the best softwares. Now this is Dannyokec, and let me head back to work.